It's a beautiful 23 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine, sunrise daily. I'm Maokwe Ogun-Yusuf.
Indeed, good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Well, this morning we have quite a lot to talk about, and we're not going to, well, we wanted to start on a positive note, but it does appear that this matter that is before us is something of a national emergency, because yesterday we understand that all the nurses across the country, across the federation, were on strike. And our cameras went out to find out what the grievances were. It turns out that it centers around welfare. So we will be playing you this report, and then we will go and talk to our guest this morning to find out what steps have now been taken since they expressed their grievances. But here is what our cameras caught when they went round yesterday.
It's day one of the 7-day strike declared by the National Association of Nurses and Midwives, and the resultant disruption of medical services to patients is visible. At this National Specialist Hospital for the care of eye, nose and throat in Kaduna State, our crew met an almost empty facility. We were told off camera that patients at the emergency ward were discharged due to the absence of medical support for nurses. The national chairman of Federal Health Institutions, Nurses and Midwives accuses the federal government of being insensitive to the plight of Nigerian nurses and midwives.
The unconducive working environment for nurses in Nigeria is unbearable. We've been patient for a very long time. I don't think anybody nurses going on strike in Nigeria because of the compassionate aspect of our job. We don't want our patients to die. We don't want to subject them to difficulty. But the federal government is not actually taking this into consideration. After this 7 days warning strike, we are going to review the effects of the strike. And if government didn't intervene, we are going to issue government another 21 days ultimatum, which is going to lead to indefinite strike.
The situation is the same in Taraba State, as the state's chairman of the association explains the rationale for their action.
We find ourselves where we are today, and the reason is because of our demands that the federal government, since they have not yet implemented, we try our cool best to make a dialogue with them, but all these things prove abortive.
When medical workers embark on strike, patients are the ones who bear the brunt.
Well, it's been really terrible because what the nurses are meant to do, the doctors are struggling and they can't do it because they're few. And like just today, my veins clotted like 3-4 times because I want to wee, there's nobody to remove it, there's nobody to change the cannula and stuff. So it's been a struggle, and they had to move the cannula, the giving sets to this hand. So I've just been in a lot of pain, no assistance. It's terrible without the nurses. I just hope that this whole thing be sorted.
However, the Minister of Labour in a statement appealed to the striking nurses to embrace dialogue and shelve their action. Part of the statement says the government will continue its meeting with the nurses on Friday to resolve the issues. The nurses are demanding for upward review of professional allowances, creation of the Department of Nursing and the Federal Ministry of Health, the inclusion of nurses in the headship of health policy-making bodies, among several others.
Well, that was how it went down yesterday, day one of a 7-day strike. Well, joining us to discuss this matter is the National Chairman of Nurses and Midwives in Federal Health Institutions, Mr. Morakio Olwan. Mr. Olwan, thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning. It's day 2 now of this strike. We understand that the conversation has started with federal authorities. The question will be, why is it just starting? Have you made attempts before now, before you eventually called for the strike?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So good morning. I'm Nurse Morakio Olwan. I'm the National Chairman of Federal Health Institution Nurses and Midwife in Nigeria. Just to respond to your questions, If you remember last year, nurses in Nigeria issued one ultimatum, 15 days ultimatum to federal government, Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, and with all these demands. Where then we suspended the strike when the verification portal was opened, and a promise to pay were promised on the table that were promised. Up till this year, nothing was forthcoming, so we have to wait, and there have been several correspondences to Federal Ministry of Health, to federal government, without any response. So what actually causes now is the circular that was released in June that reviewed the health professional salary, which we felt it didn't capture the interests of Nigerian nurses, and we have to call for withdrawal of that circular and go back to our demands, because the association was not consulted when before that circular and the increment was drafted. So we gave them 15 days ultimatum from Monday, 14th of July, which elapsed yesterday, 29th of July, before we are embarking on this 7-day warning strike. So we've given government enough time to respond to our demand, but government actually didn't come forward to do that.
So nothing happened within the time that you gave the ultimatum. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, nothing happened.
Well, you know, sometimes when you get some responses, it's dumbfounding. You have to find the words to. So precisely what exactly are nurses asking for? What will help you call off this 7-day warning, this 7-day strike? Because clearly patients are suffering. A lot of people see that, yes, doctors are usually go on strike, and thankfully for some time now we haven't. It's very rare that we see nurses who are supposed to be like the bulwark of the medical profession. They are the ones who stand in the gap many times when it is the doctors are on strike. But in this instance, it's a real struggle to see how doctors are coping, and it does look like, you know, your help will be significantly needed. So precisely what would it take for nurses to call off the strike and go back to work?
You know, just like you said, it's not actually in the nurses' attitude to embark on strike. And we have been patient enough because we are compassionate. Nurses are empathetically to their patients. We love our patients. We don't have anything to happen to them. But we waited for long for all these demands to come into reality. So this strike is happened to be the last option we have to let government answer us. So based on this insensitivity on the part of government, I think some part of these demands have to be met before we can suspend this strike. We have to see serious commitment from the part of government before we can suspend this. Warning strike.
Can you be specific about some of the demands that you're making?
Yes. Number one, we're talking about the scheme of service for nurses that was approved by Council of Establishment since 2016. And we'll be calling for this scheme of service to be gazetted by government, but up to date, which is 10 years after, the scheme of service is yet to be gazetted. We are calling for allowances that are peculiar to the government for upward review of these allowances, which includes shift allowance, specialty allowance, uniform allowance, and in fact, we need specialty allowance for all our specialist nurses. Uniform allowance is there. And we want government to employ more nurses. Government have been talking about Japa syndrome, people migrating to where nurses' work are appreciated. But those of us that remain in the country that want to serve our country, we are under pressure. We are working under pressure. The work is enormous for us, and government is not employing. And I want to tell Nigerians that We have enough nurses in Nigeria. We don't have shortage of nurses in this country. The survey carried out by the association last year to ask for those nurses that are not gainfully employed, about 10,000 nurses were not employed. So most of them ends up working in private hospital where they are being paid peanuts before they can take care of their family. So we want government to employ more nurses so that they can cushion the effect. The burnout effect is enormous. So we want the government to employ more nurses and enhance our remuneration. Because people are going out not for anything, but because of the remuneration, they are well remunerated and the condition of service. And the creation of a department at the Federal Ministry of Health. We have a director who is answerable to another director in the Federal Ministry of Health. So we want a department at the Federal Ministry of Health because we constituted the highest number of workforce in the health sector, which is about 60 to 70%. The issue of board of federal health institution, we want government to constitute board of federal institution and include nurses as part of the board. Nurses must be part of policy making. You can imagine the highest number of workforce not partaking in the policy that have to do that concern the healthcare. I think it's pathetic. We want nurses to be part of decision making in healthcare system in Nigeria. Another thing is the issue of internship. Government, because of this migration of nurses to overseas, a lot of colleges of nursing, department of nursing at the university were open, and we are graduating a lot of nurses every year. And all these nurses, they have to go for internship before their training were completed, before they go for NYSC and become a licensed nurses. Most of them are still staying at home for 1 to 2, 3 years without having space to do their internship. And without internship, they cannot be qualified and access to practice. We want government to open more space at the federal level, state level, and even private institutions where they can undergo this internship and allow them to finish in time so that their parents can rest. Those are the issues we are talking about here. And there is a judgment, the National Industrial Court judgment in 2012, which government has not been taken into consideration. All these are issues we are asking for government to do.
Mr. Olwan, I want you to be able to get how far the conversation has been with the Ministry of Labor. We saw Minister Dingyadi saying, look, embrace dialogue, let's see if we can talk this through. Happened.
Yeah, the leadership, the Ministry of Labor invited the leadership on Tuesday, which was the last day of that ultimatum. But the meeting ended in deadlock because those that are supposed to be on ground during the meeting were not there. Especially the mother ministry, Federal Ministry of Health, the minister was not there. Head of service of the Federation was not there. So the meeting ended in deadlock. And as at yesterday too, the coordinating minister of health invited the leadership. They met, and the meeting is still inconclusive. So the meeting probably is going to continue either today or Friday.
When you say the meetings are inconclusive, what's causing the deadlock?
That means there's no tentative agreement met. There's no any tentative agreement met, and we have to reach an agreement before we can say the meeting is conclusive. And in fact, there have to be MOUs signed by all the stakeholders before we can say meeting is conclusive.
Then I want to be able to understand what's going on at those meetings. Is it that you bring forth these things that you're asking for, and then they say we can't meet these demands? Is that what's going on? Or are they saying shelve the strike, let's see what we can do one after the other? What happens that leads to the deadlock?
Yes, at least I think that is what the government will definitely ask for, that we should suspend the strike so that they can look at our demands. And that one, we are not comfortable with that. We have to make sure that part of the demands are attended to before we can suspend strike at all.
And some people will say, well, maybe that will be a good place to start. At least it will be a sign of good faith We sincerely hope that this is resolved in good time. We have to thank you so much for speaking with us this morning, Mr. Morakio Olwan, who is the National Chairman of Nurses and Midwives in Federal Health Institutions. Thank you for speaking with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We don't want to try to stay longer than necessary. That is the reason why we want it to be total for 7 days, so that at least we can get what we want from government and go back to work. We are very compassionate. We are considerate. Nothing is a calling, and we don't want anything to. We've never contemplated leaving our job, so that is why this one happened to be the last option for us. That's why we have to do that.
All right,
we are appealing to the well-meaning Nigerian government to answer us so that we can go back to work.
Thank you very much once more for speaking with us, Mr. Olwan. Let me come to our guest here in the studios, Mr. Laolu Akonde. We're looking at a number of issues that are trending, and this, of course, is right there on the front burner. We're looking at our health sector. It's been a while since we've seen strikes, but this has now come to us, and it's taking its toll on patients, especially public health institutions in Nigeria. You've heard him. What are your initial thoughts on how it is that we've reached here?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a very sad scenario that you have the Nigerian people, patients, having to take the shorter end of the stick in this kind of face-off between, in this case, the Nurses Association and the federal government. You know, that is quite heart-rending. But what I can tell you from my own experience in government is that the channels of communication in government is actually a joke. And I have not seen any serious effort to try and fix it. Because what I will argue, you know, and I wish I could be corrected if this is not true, is that the people that have responsibility, the political responsibility, oftentimes don't get to even know about some of these things until it is very late. Now, and I'm not trying to give them any excuses, because the moment you get to know about it, you ought to stop it. Because if any of the ministers, be it labor or health, if they were to say to these guys and say that, look, I give you my word, you know, please go back. We're going to sort this thing out and try to find some kind of circle that, look, these are all the things that you want. You know, we will do this right away. We will do this in a week. I'm sure that they will be able to go back. So I'm saying that on the one hand, there is a bureaucratic problem in the Nigerian public service, in the civil service, that delays the communication. That is, and I'm speaking from experience entirely. But then, clearly, we know now, based on what the chairman has said, Mr. Olwan, we know that the Minister of Labor is aware. They've held meetings with the Minister of Labor. They've held meetings with the Minister of Health. You know, so they are aware. Now, we don't know at what point they were aware, but they are aware. And the moment you are aware, what you ought to do is to try to stop it, because the damage is quite significant, and we will not be able to even measure. You know, I mean, the report did a very good job. We had one of the patients, you know, and that was heart-rending, you know. I mean, for nothing of our own fault. This is somebody that is sick. All of us get sick, and you know how it is. If you have a little bit of pain, you know how completely, you know, I mean, how that can set you off. So that is what both the government and the nurses ought to take into consideration and find some kind of meeting point. And that's what I'm going to say. I mean, look, the Minister for Education is now actually boasting that, hey, no more ASU strike. Maybe they should do the same thing that they did to ASU, to the nurses, and sort out these problems. There's no reason why we should be having this strike, because all you need to do is to develop a relationship that is based on confidence. And I'm talking now about the ministers, let the associations have confidence in you. If they have confidence in you, then they can listen to your word. Part of the problem is that confidence has broken down, for the most part, between government and these unions.
And you know, it's the second time we're looking at the strike, because it was just last week we spoke to, was it last week we spoke to police officers, retired police officers who, you know, went on strike over their pension and their gratuity and all those kinds of payments. And it doesn't appear that there has been some, will I say, action that has been done, some urgent action taken with immediate alacrity, as we like to say
exactly.
in this times. And then now we're seeing that of nurses. But I do not want to lump the two, because that's part of what has, you know, brought up criticism against how the president responded to the Super Falcons, because there was that, you know, people were very happy that they pushed through. They really deserved what it was that they got in terms of their reward. But then you also saw that Nigerians are saying, but there are other issues that have been crying for your attention. Yeah. Why is it that these ones are not also getting the needed attention? How much could they be possibly asking for?
Bakwe, I see your efforts not to try to lump it together, but there's a place where these things gets connected. Look, somebody told me when we were in the villa, and I will mention the person's name because I don't have their release. He said that the way Nigeria is structured is that if you don't know people, and if your noise is not loud enough, you will be jettisoned. People will not pay attention to you.
They'll abandon you.
They will abandon you. Now, if you manage to raise your voice, or the sun shines on you, then you will get everything. You will get even excess. Now, everybody understands this dynamic, and that is why you see these unions bringing their biggest guns, because they have also learned that lesson in the cultural practices that we have become as a people. Yes, the Falcons deserve it, but then people are saying that, what about the policemen? I saw a video of some of the soldiers decapitated because of the war. They got nothing comparable because we have a broken system. And that's my point. We have a broken system. And if we don't do the dramatic things that is required, drastic steps, that system is going to be failing. Because, to be honest with you, how many things do you think is on the table of the president? Huge, humongous, even the ministers too. We need to fix the system so that some of these things can be sorted as a matter of course. The way it is now, the system is broken down. You have to be able to scream at the top of your voice to get the attention that you deserve, to get the entitlement that is yours.
And, you know, that Super Falcons, I don't want to quickly glossify it, because people had given up on them. Even at the final, even at that game, people had, you know, given up. I have friends who said, look, I'm going to go and sleep. I'm too young to die of hypertension. And, you know, they really fought their way through to be able to bring home that cup. But before they got to the finals, and we were hearing things of allowances not being paid, you know, sometimes before they even set out is a problem. To be mobilized is a problem. And then when they now come back with the cup, thank God at least something came their way. And even though we're still praying that whatever it is the president has promised is delivered as quickly as possible. Which all
I was gonna because I don't want us to lose that. Yeah. You see, the issue, and this, let's talk about it, because it does feel like in many ways when the president made that call and offered those things to the Falcons, 150 million was offered to the Falcons. That was when we started hearing the voices. Let's be honest here. We stay hearing many groups talking about how, especially policemen, it started with the policemen, when they say, look, we're working for you. 35 years after, you give me 2 million. Someone wins a game and you give them 150 million. Now, while that doesn't take away from the importance of encouraging our girls, it does speak to the priorities of government, doesn't it, Laolu?
Yeah, that's my point, Kayla, that is the system, that is what we have become. So the government is also, to a very significant extent, dependent on the bureaucratic structure that we have. And they should take responsibility, no doubt about that. Whoever is president, whoever is minister, whoever is head of service, they have to take the responsibility. But I'm just taking it deeper, just so people will understand the crisis that we have. We have a civil service system that is broken down. It's broken down. You cannot place anything on it. Look, it got to a point in this country several years ago that when political appointees are made, when the minister, you have to bring your own aides. You have to bring like 6, 7, 8 special assistants. They weren't doing that before. I mean, at the times when people like Patu Tomi was a special advisor to Shagai, you could count the number of special advisors that the president had. But all of that has changed now. If you want to get the job done, you need to substantiate and supplement, because they can see the brokenness of the system. We got to fix that system. I mean, it's not to talk down the civil servants. No, there are great people among them, but the system is broken down. That is why the nurses will have sent communication and nobody has responded.
No one came for the meeting
yesterday. And
then the Minister of Health didn't come for that first meeting.
Yeah, but then I think you also said that the Minister of Health then had another meeting with them. On Wednesday. But you could see that there are all kinds of structural gaps that if we don't address them holistically, you're going to have to be dealing with this. The other thing that the political appointees can do is to inspire confidence. When you get there, inspire confidence with these people, even before there is a crisis. Tell them that, look, I'm here for you. If people have that sense of confidence, that's what is happening between us and the minister today. Clearly, if they have that confidence that, okay, this is our guy, they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That is what Pate should do. That is what Dingy Yadi should do. Inspire confidence in these people.
It's surprising, I mean, because the coordinating Minister of Health, if there's anything he's tried to do is inspire confidence in Nigeria that, you know, their health system is going to come back on track. We saw the commissioning of cancer centers last week, you know, and there was a whole, well, I say fanfare around it because it was done across 3 different states in one day. So it is nurses that will work in these places, and some of them will be specialists. So some of the things that they're asking for shouldn't be too far-fetched. If we're going to be building all of this wonderful infrastructure, we should also care about the people who work there, shouldn't we?
Good point, Marpe. So which is the other thing that is important, and this is where we have to place the blame squarely on political leadership. We have to understand that it is important for us to deal with our people in a fair and decent manner. All of us in positions of leadership, from the president to the ministers to the head of service to the directors. We must talk to ourselves that, look, the people, those are the real thing that we need to deal with more than any other thing. Other things are important. Those projects are important. Those equipments are important. Those roads are important. Those bridges are important. But they must come after how we treat people as human beings. If these guys have confidence in the system, they will wait. But they don't have confidence in the system. And the ministers can make that happen.
And well, they're not the only ones that don't have confidence in the system. Even lawmakers don't have confidence in the system. They carried out an audit. I mean, I think it was the audit on the NNPCL and, yes, the Senate Committee on Public Accounts, which is usually headed by an opposition member. We even saw members of the proposition, not the opposition now, you know, finding it very difficult to trust the words of the NNPCL GMD when he showed up at their hearing. They had been saying, look, this man, we're going to arrest you if you don't show up. And then eventually he shows up and he says, please give me 4 weeks. I'm just renewally appointed. I'm just trying to come to terms. And they say, what do you mean? You've been there for a while. I mean, are you saying that all the people who have been appearing before us, none of them have communicated to you in a very coherent manner what it is we're asking for? Well, they were still kind. They gave him 3 weeks. But at the heart of it, some people are saying, look, there is a question of accountability. And it would seem that they're not very, very confident in some of the things that have not been reported. We had, an expert in that industry who was here yesterday, who said that, look, some of these things look like they're being politicized. Because how do you come up with 210 trillion naira where you're looking at assets and liabilities? How do you lump them together? Shouldn't you be looking at a difference, et cetera, et cetera? Nonetheless, this has been raised by both members of the opposition and the ruling party in this particular committee. What are your thoughts when you saw the appearance of the NNPCL chairman?
Yeah, okay, so as you know, the issue of NNPC is quite very complicated stuff, you know, and then even our National Assembly, there's quite a bit of distrust too. You know, people don't trust the National Assembly, which is a shame. I mean, that is the people's parliament. If you don't trust them, there is the perception of a shakedown many of the times when these panels, you know, try to, and I have also had interactions that clear to me that some of them, not all, some of them are not really driven by public interest. Look at what is happening now on this matter. Experts have already explained to us that, look, this thing, there's a problem with this claim that this is how much of money that has been lost or stuff, that there are technical issues.
That they are seeking to be accounted for.
Yeah, you know, so, so people are not really inspired by the national, big time resources those issues. When there are more issues in the NPC that they should be dealing with.
Such as?
You know, the very idea that the system is so opaque, you know, that the way we run our oil and gas NNPC is just that.
Yeah, so talking about
whatever it is we want to show you, we show you this, we hold on to that. You know, look, some of the past audited reports of NNPC, the auditors issued disclaimers to an audit report that they signed.
Absolutely.
I didn't hear anybody in the National Assembly screaming about that. What's the point of you being an auditor? You got the job, got paid for it, and you publish report and you say that, oh, on these matters, you know, it's a disclaimer, we don't take responsibility. That is an ethical crisis. National Assembly members said not a word to that. So there are deeper problems. The last thing I want to say is that Mr. Ojudari is political, you know, and because the NNPC is a huge political institution, is messing up big time in the way he's managing the political aspects of this job. It's messing up big time. You know, gets involved in this Kigali retreat. You know, it turns out that even the president is disappointed. I have it on authority. It turns out that he has links with people and he has exposed himself completely. He fires his communication chief, you know, and he's getting into trouble that he doesn't need. And it's going to affect his ability to deliver if he doesn't really sit up. But all told, no confidence in NNPC, no confidence in NAS in this matter. And both institutions need to fix their places to inspire confidence from Nigerian people.
Is there ever going to be a time
when
NNPC will be doing a proper monthly? Remember, I think many years ago, someone tried it, where someone, former Minister of Finance, tried to get the NNPC to come up and do a monthly breakdown of inflows and outflows and what we make and what it was used for. That didn't work. It didn't work. I think several of those meetings were, they didn't even show up for some of those meetings. Let's be realistic with this very murky agency, because it does feel like it's not just opaque, it's very murky. Is there ever going to be a time that we're going to get the clarity that we need from NNPC, realistically?
Well, if we insist, we will get it. If we insist, if the people whose job it is to raise these issues, if they do it, we will get it. And if they don't do it, then we have a voice. We have a voice. We have to make it an agenda. Because look, there are issues in NNPC. No doubt about that. Everybody knows it. And we have called on the president that, look, the same way you treated the CBN, look at what he did with the CBN.
Yeah.
He appointed a special investigator, and we saw all of the stuff that is happening there. Put a very cool guy, you know, Dr. Cardoso there, trying to fix things. Excellent job. You need to do the same thing with NNPC. Yes, Ojudari is also very competent, but we need to find out what happened in NNPC. We need to go into the details. We need to go all the way back that we need to go so that Nigerians can know exactly what happened. That way, when you put it out, you increase the chances of it not being repeated. But when you cover it up, then everybody is just waiting to take their turn.
And our president is the minister.
Yeah.
He's the minister of petroleum.
Which is not a good idea.
Well, you were speaking with Mr. Eledare yesterday. You know, he was saying that the manner in which even the lawmakers are approaching this is quite unfair, and he believes that, you know, technocrats, because in this instance, yes, I do know that there are political angles to it. It does appear that it is far much more political than the CBN. Would you say that?
Oh, certainly, I believe so. Because look, so NNPC is the place where that's our you know, what do they call it? That's where we lay the golden eggs are laid.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the golden egg.
Exactly. You know, so it will be much more. It's more sensitive. It's more significant, even than CBN. But you still have to consider that the way the president managed the CBN thing. I think, you know, we should give him the credit for doing that. You know, and expose quite a lot of the shenanigans in the place. And it's important for him so that people don't think that, oh, okay, maybe it's because you have some reasons, you know, to go after Emefiele. Maybe that was why you allowed that. We need to do the same thing in NNPC, and NNPC is much more important to clear up. Look, if we don't deal with NNPC, we are not dealing with corruption. Look at what Olukoyede said a few weeks ago, right there at the National Assembly. Olukoyede said that he's been trying to get the National Assembly to pass this bill that, I've forgotten the name, but that will show that, look, if you have assets, if you have property...
Unexplained wealth?
Unexplained wealth bill. Thank you very much. This is that for a year, he's been screaming. These same folks, they are not supporting that. Now they are trying to shake down Ojulari. I mean, this is the problem. The guy who is in charge of economic crimes is saying that, look, help me pass this unexplained wealth bill. Mom is the word. And now you come on a very flimsy technical audit problem, and you are causing you are raising hell. And experts are saying that this is a very simple matter to sort out. Unexplained wealth bill, Olukoyede is begging. He's begging, please pass the bill. If you guys know what you are doing, pass the bill.
Let's be very frank, Mr. Laolu. Do you ever see that bill getting passed? Let's be honest.
But it should be passed.
I'm not saying it shouldn't be. I'm saying, do you ever see a place where that bill will be passed?
Never say never, Mark.
It should be passed.
Never. Because we are the ones that we say that this is not who we are. If we find out that this is how low we have come, then we have to do the work of reconciliation, restoration. We need to build this country back. Kela, we have no other country.
That's true. Somebody said, he said he would, I forgot how he said. He said he would pay to see someone who's a billionaire in this country write a proper autobiography of how they made their money, where it came from, and actually be able to... Mr. Otedola is actually being talked about on social media right now, since he wrote that book about how to make it. And you're seeing a lot of young Nigerians asking, how?
Yeah, there was this child. Don't listen to him.
Don't listen. And it's not just him. They're pointing out a lot of other people who, are trying to inspire young people to do well and whatnot. But you see a lot of young Nigerians thinking, listen, you had 3,000 steps ahead before I got into this game. Yeah. How are you supposed to inspire me to start from scratch?
Well, there are still lessons that you can still learn from, Tedola's life. Yes, it's true that he comes from a privileged family and all of that. That is true. But you can still see quite a bit of lessons, from him. And the point is that there are several ways that leads to the market, like Yoruba people will say, the Onokon Waja. So somebody can make money because they have privilege, but there are also people who can make money. There are people in this country who have made money just from the scratch. There are people in this country.
It is true. It is true. And I do know those people, and I work for one of them. But let's not deviate from what it is that we're looking at. While it is that we want to stay on maybe matters that can be a bit chirpy, something also happened during the week which brought back security. Security has been somewhat, some people say, well, sometimes when you don't hear about security matters, is it that way the media is underreporting? Is it that we're not hearing? Or is it that things are really, on the down low, like the security agencies are really on top of their game? And I want to believe that security agencies are on top of their game. But then you now hear out of the, blues that something very unfortunate has happened, taking the lives of people with it. And we had such a situation in Zamfara State where 38 people were kidnapped. And in the community, after ransom was paid to these people, a significant number of them, at least 15 of them, were murdered by those who had taken them hostage. And it just is mind-boggling as to what we really need to do. I know that we've heard the NSA say over time and time again, don't pay ransom, they can still kill you and they will still take your money. Which has also been criticized. You said don't pay ransom. These are loved ones in the hands of people. They're asking for money. People will say, look, if it's money, take money, give me back my people. And this, just came and shattered the relative peace and quiet we've enjoyed, it would seem, on the front of security. What do we make of this?
Well, we have to go back to some of the things that are clearly wrong. I agree that the military has put in a lot of effort. Somebody like the Chief of Defense Staff, you can tell that the man is devoted, is a patriot, and is thinking. No doubt about it. General Chris.
Yes.
But it it is still insufficient. We are still missing out something. And part of it, in my view, is that we don't have enough troops on the ground. And I have spoken with retired generals about this matter, clearly. Now, although there are other issues, but one thing that we've not been able to do is to put enough troops. What I'm told is that so the military will go to a place, clear the place, scare away the terrorists, neutralize some of them, and then they move elsewhere. And these guys too, because they are so very organized, they know where you have left. So they come back. So there is trouble here, you solve the problem here, you move to the other place, they come back. That just shows clearly that you don't have enough. There are too many ungoverned places. And for the life of me, we know the places where there are the trouble spots. We know where they... So the military needs to bring more troops at the very minimum. We need, and I don't know what they have to tweak in their system, how they have to be radical about it, or dramatic about it, or drastic about it. Something drastic has to be done in that area to put more troops on the ground to at least deter all of this attack, or when it is happened, you can have a quick response. We have not gotten to the optimal level for that.
So there is the place for quick response, which it will seem that General Musa and the other security agencies are still working on, because it doesn't look like, every time I think about it, I think about when an attack happens, who do you call? Who is the nearest port of call? What is the response system? Yeah. Those things are still a little uncertain in our country. And if I, who live in Abuja, is wondering how 112, maybe in Abuja, I don't know, have you ever thought about it as emergency numbers? If I in Abuja am uncertain, might be experimenting in Abuja, what will happen in places like Zamfara, and in places like UB, in places like Katsina? These are huge questions, Plateau State, etc. But I do know very firmly that, the military keeps saying this is not really, while we have our part, the political actors also have a great part to play in the middle of all of this, and that we cannot continue to, grow poverty, we cannot continue to grow unemployment, and we think that we're not sitting on a keg of gunpowder. Mr. Laolu Akonde is still with us, and we're taking a look at matters that have been on the front burner throughout this week. We're just taking a look at security, and now we're turning our attention to political matters. We cannot ignore what happened sometime during the week when northern groups held a meeting. Some of them, eventually they were able to reach a compromise of endorsing the president, but it wasn't without arguments here and there. I don't know if you saw that particular story when the ministers and some other political leaders had this meeting with different... In Kaduna. And there were different sides to the coin, more or less. Some people felt, oh, look, the president has been fair to the north. Or some people say, oh, no, he hasn't been. And this debate goes back and forth. And for a number of other watchers, it's just like this conversation about, before we even go there, there was also another group that came out to say, look, if the president doesn't keep the side, the ANPP people saying, look, the ANPP faction has been marginalized in this APC. And we're wondering, oh, hold on. We thought the party had since blended and merged since all of this time. What is this factionalization? But I think it also goes to the broader narrative of this North versus South, which we constantly and continually see. I don't know whether I had asked one of our commentators yesterday if it bothers him, and he says it really bothers him. I wonder if it bothers you as well.
Clearly, and this is why the idea of rotational presidency was such a, good idea, good thing. To say that, look, where we are in this country, we have to create some level of equitable interaction at the political level for the highest office in the land. Let's rotate the state, north and south, north and south. It's not the turn of the north. But yes, the northern section of the country, if they do have issues, they should bring it up, and there should be a very open and transparent conversation around whatever their concerns are. Just like it should be the same thing for the South. This is the whole idea. Everybody has to be able to articulate their interest. What I don't support is to use any of this to truncate the agreement or the consensus. It's a consensus. Yeah, it's not a negotiation, but it's a consensus already established that it's going to be 8 years. We had 8 years of a northerner, President Muhammadu Buhari, God bless his soul. We must have 8 years of a southern president. So don't let anybody try to use whatever they think, like Kwakwanso went to say that, oh yeah, the North is not being protected. Kwakwanso got it wrong. And clearly, what Kwakwanso said is completely selfish. Kwakwanso is just playing up his own game, his own personal game. And you expect somebody of Kwakwanso's level to exercise a bit more state-manly behavior. There is no way you can sustain an argument to say that therefore bring it back to the... No, we got to wait for the 8 years. Let us discuss the issues, whatever they are, openly.
And it would seem that, Governor Peter Obi, Mr. Peter Obi read the room right when he started to propose that should he, run, I think he certainly will run, but that he's only proposing a one-term presidency.
Yeah, and Amici said the same thing.
Yes, because it does appear that... Yes.
And then, Makwe, people have also suggested that, look, why is nobody talking about Goodluck Jonathan? Goodluck Jonathan, if he's in the race, just for the sake of it, of argument, I'm not saying I'm not a politician, but Goodluck Jonathan is somebody that...
Will be statute bad.
Will be statute bad to just do... So there are options to this thing. So what I don't want to hear, and what I will go against very strongly, is any attempt to return power to the North until the South has done its 8 years. No, we shouldn't allow that.
Let me complete my statement so it's not taken out of context. It will be statute bad after another 4-year term, should he decide to run. So if there's so if there's a case of trust deficit, for all these other people who are saying, I will only do 4 years if you elect me, I will only do... At least we know that President Jonathan has done 4 years already, and I can only do 4 years by law.
By law.
So I think it's very important to put it out there for those who are listening.
And you imagine that if the people who are doing this coalition business, if they can just read the Tinubu handbook, which is already out there. We saw how the man did it. The way they are running the whole thing is just they're not really... Nigerians can figure it out that this is just too much of personal interest. And we're not saying that personal interest is not in politics. It is in politics. But it is clear that it's the same game that people are suffering from that you guys are offering. It's just a change of faces.
The ADC, they're actually trending in the news because the former national chairman of the ADC, I was just looking at it, but I was looking at from the Vanguard at least, Mr. Chifoke Nwosu. So he said that that there were bribes given to them to scuttle, given to him, ministerial bribes given to him to scuttle this ADC coalition, and all these games going on right now. But it's raising the conversation about the APC being not as safe as they think that they may be as we move up to 2027. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and that's the point that I'm saying. First of all,
although the president, Daniel Bola, has said the president has been unable to say who offered him what bribe, who can know that.
Exactly,
that balance
which is an important question to say that. Look, if Mr. Ravuwosu is bold enough to say that he was offered money and even 3 ministerial slot, even if he doesn't want to be the one to say it, he should be smart enough to know how to get that information out so that we can really, assess the credibility of that claim. I doubt it very much.
Okay.
I doubt it very much, because that would be completely silly, But hey, these guys do all kind of stuff, But the point that we should stress clearly is that we need an opposition. We need a strong opposition. It's part of the element of a thriving democracy. So we are thankful that now you have this coalition of ADC, giving the government, a run for its money, putting them on their toes. That is a good thing. What they need to understand that if they really want to get the connection to the Nigerian people, then they must do 2 things. They must tell us what their manifesto is. What are they offering Nigerians that is different from what is happening today? And then secondly, can they find people who can connect? All these old guys who have baggages, is not going to help their case. Those of us who are in the field of communication, you know that the most important factor in communication is the messenger himself or herself. If it is these same guys that are the one preaching the message, even if the message is good, it's already corrupted. And there's a credibility crisis for the message because the messengers cannot be trusted. Find trustworthy Nigerians who can tell your message and tell us your manifesto.
Well, I think it's a fine place to leave this conversation. I hope they're listening to you and that maybe they can come and ask you what exactly they should be doing. But we have to thank you so much.
He shook his head, no.
You want to be a consultant. Okay. Well, Zola Oluwakonde is the former presidential aide and also the host of Channel Television's Inside Sources. Thank you once more.
Thank you, guys. You know, and you guys are looking really, are really quite...
It's a daily dose of sunshine.
Yeah.
We do our best.
We do our best. Well, that's how we have to leave today's episode. We have been hoping to close on a note of real sunshine with another really lovely lady. But I guess you might get to see her tomorrow when Kila eventually launches her. Thank you so much for being a part of today's program. I will be away for now. Leaving you in very good hands.
Come back.
Thank you for watching. I'm Malkwe Ogun Yusuf.
Indeed, I'll see you all tomorrow. I'm Kayla Bagua.
And I'm Malkwe Ogun Yusuf.